You want to say hello? Hello.
Hi, everybody on YouTube.
Okay. What we're going to be doing on this, we're just going to try get the computer player to work first. Now, just to explain you some rules that we need to set out from the computer player. When a computer gets dealt cards, they actually get dealt one face up, one face down. So when we start the game, the computer player should have two cards, one face down and one face up. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add the function on the card to be face up or face down. So what I'm going to do is inside my card class, I'm going to put that as an option. Now we've got there available, meaning this was to try keep track of our deck, whether it had been handed out or not. So we're going to create a second boolean, and we're going to call this boolean, and this is going to be face up. So this is whether or not it's face up or face down. So it'll be true if it's face up, false if it's face down. Now we are going to assume in the default constructor, now we must make sure, and this is where I made errors in the past, is we must make sure that all our constructors initialize everything. We are going to assume that the cards are face up, and only if it's a computer card will we set it to be face down. So I think the most common constructor we use is our this constructor that's coming up now. Actually, oops, I thought I'd pasted it here, but didn't. Okay, there's this constructor here, and I'm going to add an additional constructor to this, and this constructor is going to receive through more values. It's going to receive through the value, the suit, the available, and the just in the face up. So it's receiving the value in the suit, but also now whether it's face up, and this would be when I wanted to actually set it to be false. So now in my GUI, in my GUI, when I press start game, you'll notice there that I run the start game method, which will run my table manager start game. Now in my start game here, in my table, I add various cards. Now here we're going to get random card for our deck of cards. Okay, so we add cards here, deck of cards, get random card, but now we're actually wanting to run a separate method for this. So we've got our deck of cards, so we're going to actually have to create a setter and getter for our stuff. Also something I should do before trying to code on is when you have something private, create yourself as a getter and setter, so face up. Now, after we've initialized that card, the second card in the player's hand we want to set to be face up. So I'm going to now go and say, face down. So I'm going to say here, if num cards is greater than 1, meaning that this is now the second card that we're adding, so it'll actually be greater than 0. Means that one card's already been dealt out, so it's now going into position 1 because the first position is 0. Remember that it's a bit of a tricky thing that often stumps people a bit, is that the first position is 0 and the next position is 1. So when there's already like a jack of spades, you'll notice there that then the value, it will now be 1, the counter position, so that means it would be the second card. So it's when the second card is out we would add that. But it's also we only want to do this during the handout, not during the middle of the phases, because when the guys are playing we're handing new cards to it, we don't want to do that. So I think that's a bad idea. Technically it will always be the second card, so I've got a choice. I can either do it here in the add card function, or I could look at the table and put this random cards into a temporary card and then do it here. Your guys' choice. I'm actually just going to put it into here, so I'm going to change it from being this. I'm going to create a temporary card, so card T is equal to get random card. I'm then going to say T dot set face up to be false, so we're going to change that value to be false. We're then going to go add card to be T. So we're going to add the temp card. So now that we've done that, we've got the computer hand, we've handed it out, we don't need to change anything in here. Over there we're actually going to be changing that on the table, we're going to say, and I think it more logically makes sense on the table, because when we put the card down on the table we want to turn it upside down when we put it down on the table. So I'm happy to do that. Okay, so now we've handed the computer game cards. Now we're going to have to look at how we're going to be displaying it. So we go to our GUI, and now when we start game here, we've done set value, get players cards, and then we've now and added and we've refreshed that there. So we're going to use the same thing here, but now we're going to be looking at working on a different section. So we are going to say T is now equal to tman dot get computer cards. So we only got player cards currently, so we now need to create a computer cards method. So we go back to our table, and now we're going to replace our get player cards here to get computer cards. Okay, so we already had the method that we used from that, because on the hand class already had the method get cards array, so now we just need to work with getting the computer cards on here as well. I could actually make it the same method and just work with a parameter to determine what's returned, but I think I'd rather leave it like this for now. So we'll go T is equal to tman dot get computer cards semicolon, and then we'll do the same thing here, but now the only difference is instead of adding it to hand, we're going to be adding it to this panel, and this panel is called, doesn't even have a panel in it, so I'm going to add a panel insert, and I'm going to call this hand computer hand. So we'll change this to pan computer hand, and we'll also need to take a look at where we did it for the other one. Pan hand dot remove, we'll have to do the same thing for when we run with the computer. So let's just first check if I start now here. The slight difference is here I've done is equal to new image icon, and I've said cards plus get picture. T dot get picture. Now my the way I said, you try to code things where they should be, where they're physically happening. So the object is the card. Now the card should be face up or face down. So here we'll determine whether it should be the picture or not. So I'm actually going to change this. I am literally going to say also add another if face up is false. So if it shouldn't be face up, we're actually then just going to return our image, which is face down. Which if we look at our card images, I've added an image called back of card.jpg. So then we'll just return back of card.jpg. So we're happy that that should now return the image of the back of the card. I could also technically name this if I wanted to keep to a different naming convention. I could name this 0. I'm actually going to do that. I'm just going to call this refractory name. I'm going to just call this, yeah, let me just leave it rather, okay. Well, I would call it something better in future, maybe. It was not a great work there. Alright, so let's just see if it works, if our computer gets here. No, it doesn't. There's a deck, no class definition found, new cards 52. Yes, so something I've done has now caused an issue in the area that I wasn't coding in. So now we're going to try troubleshoot. So it starts from the table where we create a deck of cards from the get-go. And it's happening here when we create our new cards of deck. Sometimes errors can just be the fact that it needs a rebuild. So sometimes it's worthwhile just rebuilding and pressing play before you go into too much detail here. So you see there, that error didn't make any sense. So I did a run, clean, and rebuild. It then executed it. So it had something to do with the compiling of it. So sometimes it's worth doing a clean and rebuild because it's picking up old issues there. So now if I go start game, I have successfully put the queen and the 9 there, but you'll see that there's no values inside the panel, and there's no error messages either. So now we're going to have to try to troubleshoot what's happening here, and I do believe I know the problem already. Some of you at home would have already figured it out because I've been a bit stupid on this. Is in my okay, it's not what I thought it was. T.length. Okay, so let's see if our initializing of our cards has worked properly. So T, I'm just going to then print plus T dot length plus \n plus T dot toString. So let's just see what is coming through in our T here. This is for our computer player, so I'm just going to put there comp. I'm also going to get rid of the other print lines that I might have added earlier. Otherwise, you might get a bit confused with what's happening on there. Okay, I don't know where my print lines are. I can go Control F and find them, but okay, so if I go start game, okay, T is 2, and it looks like it has. So there's 2 in the T, so it should have looped twice. But now it's not actually adding the hand. So now the question would be why? So we should be looping in here twice, so this should be okay, so if in doubt we're printing it out. Stop this, press play, same thing, let's go start game. Okay, now down here it says looping 0, 12 of spades, picture 12s.jpg. Do we have a 12s? Be towards the top, yes we do. 12s.jpg we do have. Looping 1, parts available true, and it doesn't show the picture of that one. Okay, so something is going wrong with the set icon add pen hand. Oh, you know what it might be? Hand computer hand dot add. Design, let's set the layout of this. It might be because the layout is very strange, so it's maybe because it's free design. So we're just going to put their flow layout. So we have now changed the layout because the free design is in relating to things. So I might have not set enough parameters through to it to actually add it to the correct location. So it might be the layout issue that's happening there. Let's try it again. Sweet. So now it is working. You'll see one card is face up, the other card is face down, and our program is working quite well. Now you'll see here the rules of the card games is that the human player would play until they choose to press stand. When they press stand, then the computer player's card will go over, and they'll keep hitting until over 17. However, if the human player presses hit and goes over the value 21, it would be busted, and then the money would go to the computer player, or I think it would be better to call this dealer actually. So the money would go to the dealer. So that's how it would work. So we're going to have to add in on the next video. I think I'm going to try segment this out as much as possible. On the next video we're going to go on how to actually add the money, and then we'll get into the actual computer player's turn. I think this video has actually been quite short, so I think I'll continue it on this one. 12 minutes and 34 seconds. I think this is long enough. Cool, I'll put the next section on the next video. The next one will be adding the money and that kind of stuff on here. So we can place bets and all that kind of thing. So goodbye for now.